Starting the week off strong, Crystal Palace at home against Manchester City. Selhurst Park, never an easy place to go. Palace coming off a loss, Manchester City coming off a win. You can see Manchester City have dominated the last 10 meetings, but the one Palace win is the one that matters. The FA Cup in their search for 2 trophies in 2 years. Can they make it 3? I don't know. That's not what we're predicting. This is game week 2. Palace unlucky to not score last week. They had 2 really good chances. They hit the post twice in the first half. Thought that they could have done a little bit better. Everton were the better team on the day. They deserved to win. Manchester City on the other side, very stagnant. Definitely looked a little bit shaky in transition. They had Gahey in midfield. Obviously, things are going to look a little bit different with the new signing that they brought in. I'm not sure if he will jump right in, but it was looking like it was going to be one of those frustrating 1-0 defeats. Bournemouth were going to go and steal all 3 on the opening day of the season and absolutely destroy the hearts of some children that were in the stands probably for their first away game. But Manchester City grabbed 2 at the end of the game. I can see them winning this game on the road. I don't think that if they play the way that they played against Bournemouth, they will win, but I don't see them being that wasteful, having free headers and missing them like they did in that game. I could see them maybe grabbing a set piece goal, but ultimately, I do think they're going to get the win. I think I'm going to give Palace a goal. Let's go 2-1 Manchester City, and let's see what the boosters are this week. I actually noticed that the boosters are different, so we could do first to score, anytime score, 4 goals, or clean sheet. Well, you know what? I think that's one of the easiest things you can pick. So anytime goal scorer. So you can get a couple extra points here if we go with Haaland to score, which I think is probably a very safe booster to use. So that's that. Crystal Palace 1, Manchester City 2, Erling Haaland to score. And by the way, apologies for the late upload. The cup kind of screwed things up with me this week. I wanted to see how a couple results went. But going forward, I am going to try and get it out in the first half of the week. And then on Wednesdays, you're always going to see my Coventry City match preview. Anyways, Liverpool have their first home game with Iraola against Nottingham Forest. That'll be a real good one. That'll be an interesting match for sure. Nottingham Forest disappointed to lose their first match, but happy that they don't have to play Leeds again because they've lost consecutively to Leeds. Liverpool, interesting showing against Newcastle. They go on the road. Genuinely probably one of the most hostile environments that they could come up against this entire season with the whole Isak, Ekitike. The midfield of Liverpool was definitely very shaky. A lot of attacking players, not many defensive players. I think that'll shore up over time. Will it shore up for this game? I'm not exactly sure, but getting the likes of Araujo acclimated, getting McAllister back up to game speed will definitely help with that, because when you've got a midfield of Wirtz, Szoboszlai, Gravenberch, you're not doing much defending there, and certain teams can really take advantage of that, especially pacey teams like Newcastle, for example. They did what they needed to do. They definitely were disappointed to not get all 3 points, but they were clutch when it mattered. Szoboszlai steps up. Absolutely stunning penalty. This game, I don't see this one being as close. Nottingham Forest did just bring in Liam Delap for 50 mil. How on earth do Chelsea do it? I really don't know. Because it's funny how narratives change. It's like they were the laughing stock last year. Now they looked amazing. They're selling all their players for profit. Delap now here. Not sure if he'll be appearing in this match. They've still got Jesus. They've still got Wood. I don't think it'll be enough, though. I think the Liverpool home advantage will be really big here. I'm actually going to give them 2 goals. I'm going to go 2 goals to... Do I give Forrest a goal? They haven't scored one yet. No, you know what? Let's go 2-0. 2-0 to Liverpool. Next up, we've got an interesting one here. Bournemouth at home against Everton. Both teams played very well in their first week. Bournemouth unlucky to not even get a singular point against Manchester City. We already alluded to the fact they go up 1-0 on the counter. They looked very strong in transition. They're very pacey. However, I did think they looked very shaky from set pieces, and that's something that Everton can capitalize on. You saw instant return on the signing of Hayden Hackney. He saw that Crystal Palace were not set for a free kick. He quickly took it, put it down the wing, and then it was crossed in for Barry to get his goal. That was that for that game right there. Something that I noticed last week, and something I think maybe I forgot about just because of watching so much World Cup. Home field advantage in the Premier League is so crucial. 7 out of the 10 games had the home team winning in the first week. Obviously, the fans are going to be juiced up. This is Bournemouth's first home game of the season. I actually am going to give it to Bournemouth. You can see they've actually been dominating the head-to-head. 7 wins, 3 wins for Everton. No draws. Interesting. Good stuff to know there. I will give Everton a goal. I will. They impressed me. I was actually pretty happy with their performance. I mean, I'm not an Everton fan, but if I was a fan, I know someone who is a fan, I'd be happy with their performance. Am I going to give anything here? First to score, 4 goals, clean sheet. No, let's go 2-1. Coventry City versus Hull. Guys, you're going to have to go watch my video from yesterday, which was a full 15-20 minute match breakdown and preview / prediction of this game. I will put a booster on here. I think just to give you a little something, I'll put a booster on every week. 4 goals or more, first team to score, clean sheet. Let's go first team to score Coventry. I'm backing the boys. That can give you a little hint. Last season was 0-0 on either side of the affair. One was the first game of the season, and one was late into the season during Easter weekend, if I remember correctly. That's going to be a really good one. Really crucial 6-pointer for Cov. But sorry, you're going to have to go watch that video to hear my full breakdown and my score prediction. And how unprofessional of me. I don't have my LED lights set to sky blue. 27-year-old man, by the way. Guys, please subscribe if you're enjoying the content. This is going to be an every single week thing. By the way, we're going to check out the scores in our league at the end. We finished with 140 members. I did okay. Room for improvement for sure, but please, if you're enjoying, drop a like on the video. It helps push it to new audiences. If you would like to give me your predictions down below, I'm not going to change mine and copy yours. Don't worry, unless you're some guru. Unless you're the top guy, then I'm probably going to steal your predictions. But yeah, hit that sub button if you'd like. We're really pushing. We're really doing a great job. And if you want to come by to the watch along for Coventry versus Hull on Saturday, we'll be live 30 minutes before kickoff. Anyways, moving on. Tottenham versus Newcastle. Ooh, this is going to be a fun game to watch. Tottenham, very disappointing. Absolutely thrashed by Brentford. Underestimating Brentford for sure. Brentford have been on an absolute tear, by the way. I'm sure we'll talk about them soon. Obviously, this is a Premier League prediction show. Newcastle, unlucky to not get 3 points, if I have to say so myself. They took advantage of Liverpool's fragility in the midfield. They used their pace up front to grab a couple goals, and they defended pretty well, I would say. So the question is, are Spurs actually that bad? That's really what I need to know. They just brought in Savinho. I'm definitely liking the vibes that I'm seeing over there. I feel like they eventually have to turn it around, but we also said that last year. We also said that halfway through 2 seasons ago as well, leading them to consecutive 17th place finishes. Not great at home. Not great at home, by the way. They had 10 losses and only 3 wins at home last season, which is very concerning. Obviously, that's that whole conundrum of, you like to be at home, you feel more comfortable. But then when things are going bad, the fans are going to turn on you. It's going to be a toxic environment. And Newcastle are definitely not any strangers to a toxic environment, except it was their fans creating it for Liverpool against Isak, their number 1 enemy in the last game. I see goals. I think that these are 2 teams that are in transition phases where they're really still trying to get that rapport with each other. I actually think I'm going to give it to Tottenham. As much as it would be hilarious to see Newcastle go on the road, give me a nice high-scoring affair. 4 goals or more, 3-2 Tottenham over Newcastle. That's going to be a great game. Moving on to Sunday, a game that I and many other people are very excited to watch. Chelsea versus Brighton, the 2 serial business partners. Brighton, top of the table, plus 4 goal differential after thrashing Villa. Chelsea, JP Morgan. They were looking so good. Someone better be rushing to trademark that name. JP Morgan. That is the name of the game here. I'm seeing goals for sure. Brighton, they did what needed to be done. Villa weren't up to it, the standards on the day. They took advantage of 2 mistakes. They frustrated Villa. They caused Joao Gomez to get a red card in the first half. They capitalized. Their midfield was winning the second balls. They were just strong overall. Brighton, they're a good club. Simple as that. They are a bit of a feeder club to Chelsea, like Joao Pedro, for example. Chelsea, it's the defense for me, and more specifically the keeper. I saw that Emi Martinez was linked to Chelsea. They'd be silly to not go and get him. I'm pretty sure Villa wants something along the lines of 10 mil for him. You just go do it. Considering all the profit that they've made on players, they always find ways to get around, SCR now. They're going to be fine there. If they did that, they could really push for, I'm not going to say first cuz hint hint, I've still got Arsenal all the way up at the top, but they're just going to be a fun team to watch all season. Simple as that. Because they're going to score a lot of goals and they're probably going to concede a lot of goals too. With that being said, it is tough for me to pick a winner in this game. Chelsea at home, they will have the crowd behind them. It'll be a really good atmosphere, but it'd be silly of me to fade Brighton right now, considering Chelsea did give up 2 goals to Fulham. And that's not a knock on Fulham at all. It's just simply the fact that, Brighton were just prolific, albeit against a weakened Villa squad, but I'm going to give it the 2-2. Any boosters here? The only booster I've got left is, wow, I'm really burning through them, is the clean sheet. So 2-2 Desmond. Let's move on. Sunderland at home versus Fulham. Sunderland were an absolute tank at the Stadium of Light last season. They collected 33 points there. That was one of the most, definitely the most out of all the newly promoted teams. That was their whole game plan, was it make it a fortress. And they are at home here, so I do like their chances. Fulham, on the other hand, they did beat Sunderland last year at the Stadium of Light by a score of 1-3, which is quite impressive considering the atmosphere. I think Fulham are just in a bit of a transition phase. I don't know if they'll be in trouble come end of the season because, it's only time can tell. You really don't want to overreact. But I do think that Sunderland have enough to get over the line. They do need to make some signings. It seems like they swooped in for Igor Paxao. Probably destroyed that pronunciation. And I know, listening to a couple Sunderland channels, right now they're playing Trey Hume at right wing, who is a right back by trade. So they're going to want to strengthen there as well. I think they just have a great manager. He's got experience in the Prem. Arbeloa obviously does not. Not that he put in a terrible showing against Chelsea, but give me a Sunderland victory, but give me a narrow Sunderland victory. I'm thinking I'm going to go along the lines of like a 1-0. I think they may have just been caught out against Ipswich, maybe just kind of shocked like how Manchester United were against Hull. Let's go 1-0. That sounds about right to me. Probably totally wrong, though, as are most of these. Leeds at home, Elland Road versus Brentford. Just taking a look at these two teams, it might not sound like this is going to be a juicy one. And even just looking back, 0-0, 1-1 last season in their 2 ties. Even going back to 2023, it was also a 0-0. But right now, Brentford are on an absolute tear. 3-0 last weekend against Spurs. They had a 7-0 friendly victory. They won 6-1 against Blues in the Cup during the week. They are just scoring at will. So I'll tell you for free right now, I will not be using my clean sheet in this game, which leaves us down to only 2 games. So I may have to go back and assess. Leeds, great game against Nottingham Forest. Actually beat them 2 times in a row. Different lineup, albeit. They scored on a set piece. Basically, listening to what Leeds fans had to say is there was room for improvement, but there was a lot of things that they were satisfied with in those first 2 games of the season. This could end up being a very, very good game. There are going to be goals here. I'm tempted to swap over to the 4, but I don't know if Leeds have it in them just based on how solid the Brentford defense has been so far this season. It's going to be a good game. It's going to be close. I want to say 1-1 draw. I know that the Brentford Sangare that they brought in from the French league just looked absolutely amazing. And then you've got like Anton Stach, you've got Ampadu, you've got a lot of good midfielders, defenders for Leeds. Muharemovic is really settling in smoothly. You've got Trafford back there. So yeah, let me reel myself in a little bit. The most boring scoreline ever, but the most interesting 1-1 you're going to see. This one will be a great battle. Manchester United, first match at Old Trafford against Ipswich Town. You would not expect that one of them would be on 0 and one would be on 3. If you were, you'd probably expect it to be United on 3, Ipswich on 0, but it is the other way around. Manchester United just absolutely caught sleeping in that first game of the season against Hull. Their midfield wasn't quick enough. They weren't strong enough. They weren't winning first balls. They weren't first to challenges. They weren't getting stuck in. I could go on for days. Just a bit of a gutless performance. Just Hull were infinitely better. I saw a TikTok, which I thought was actually pretty funny. It was an American who had just started watching the Premier League, and he was like, my instant reaction is that Hull City are one of the greatest teams I've ever seen in my life, which I just thought was funny because it's like you would, like, not knowing the history of Manchester United and whatnot, you would not know how prolific of a club they were. Oh, let me circle back around, by the way. I'll probably make a TikTok about this at some point, but newest Leeds fan, Daddy Wellness, an American YouTuber, influencer, whatever you want to call him, he spun a wheel to become a fan of a club, and he landed on Leeds. And Daniel James did his like little catchphrase celebration in their friendly. How insane is that? I feel like that is one of the coolest things ever. So my next life mission is gonna get a Cov player to do some sort of fat cat. But we'll revisit that on another day. United versus Ipswich. How did we get? Anyways. Ipswich. What in the world is going on with Ipswich Town right now? They're signing Tammy Abraham on loan, which I'm actually very angry about as a Coventry City fan. They're signing Palacios for about £28 million. Great signing. They've already made some insanely good signings. Emerson, they've already returned good players like Jack Clark, who gets the game-winning goal against his former club. The Fulham defenders and midfielders that they brought in for experience. It just all clicked for them in that game. And it's quite frankly scaring me a lot. If this game were at Portman Road, I'd give Ipswich all 3 points. I'm very tempted to take a draw here, but I think I would be mad at myself if I just that quickly switched up and said United are going to be crap. Because don't forget, just a week ago, people were talking about how Manchester United have a chance to push for the title. And like, the Gold Bridges and all the United fans are definitely saying like, we need more signings, which obviously now their hand has been forced. And I think they're going in for a couple more players, especially in that midfield, because it just looked so crap. It just did not. Like, obviously, when you have Bruno Fernandes in there, you're going to need a little bit more defensive prowess with the other two players, and they just couldn't do it. And even though I'm literally convincing myself into taking the draw here, I just have to stick with Manchester United for at least one more week against Ipswich Town. Oh my God, but they've got so many creative players. Even the guy from Paraguay that they brought in who plagued the USA during the World Cup, and Ciso. I'm going to give them a goal, and I hate it, but I just have to go 2-1 to Manchester United here, and I'm going to save that prediction and just call it there. Last but not least, I believe this is our Monday 3 p.m. kickoff, 8 p.m. kickoff, excuse me, whatever you want to call it. Arsenal on the road at Aston Villa. Hint, hint, I'm going to have to go with the clean sheet here if this is how we're doing it. Arsenal are just playing with some crazy confidence right now. When was the last time they actually kept a clean sheet at Villa? It was one of the first games of the 2024 season. Wonderful. We're just going to go with it, man. We're just going to go with it. Arsenal are playing so confidently right now. Things are a little up in the air at Villa. Konsa gone. Watkins gone. Morgan Rogers gone. Tielemans gone. Kind of that whole core being ripped up. They've still got one of the best managers in the league. I think it'll take a little bit of time. I think they're bringing Nicholas Jackson. I don't think I mentioned it earlier, but Mateta does also want out of Palace. It doesn't seem like he's coming to Villa. Let's go 2-0 Arsenal. A nice, simple 2-0 win. I think it'll be a better game than what Coventry put up, of course, because we were scared. We were on the road. Let's go 3. Why not? I don't know if I necessarily believe that Villa won't get a goal, but I'm basically saying to myself, based on my predictions, I can either go with Liverpool getting a clean sheet at home, but the way that Newcastle tore them apart in transition, and then do I have any other clean sheets? I have Fulham on the road against Sunderland. Oh, but then it's like Luke 09. He's always making silly mistakes. Fulham? But Villa? I'm going to just stick with my gut. I low-key want to change to Sunderland, but that's what I'm going to go with. Let's save those predictions. Let's take a peek at our league before we end off the video. I'm all the way down here with 9 points, lads. It's not an amazing start. 63rd sandwich in between Conwis and Jack H. Oh, we've got my competition here, the original Sky Blue. So let's see. How far off the top am I? Little Louis TV action in there. He scored 10 points, only one more than me. All the way at the top is Liam Dixon. Ali Bongo and Evil Spirit rounding off our podium with 20, 19, and 19. Those exact scores, man. Those exact scores in those boosters, they work wonders. I really need to start locking in. But congrats to these three. Can I see your actual picks? If not, I'm going to have to go and talk to the devs and see if I can do that. But shout out him because he played the Joker and he got 100%. I don't even know what that means. But anyways, great stuff. Great stuff. Hopefully, keep this going. Hopefully, you guys enjoy. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you haven't. Fun little activity for me, if that's what you want to call it. Definitely looking forward to doing another 36 of these and then continuing it going forward. So, see you guys on Saturday for the watch along. Let's have a great week. Finish the week strong. And then tomorrow, we get some Friday Night Football. Peace.